So now that we've learned about router link, we can learn about styling the router link. So what we'll do is bump these onto new lines. And what we're going to do is create a router link active. So this is basically a directive that will add a class, whatever you pass in this string. So I'm going to pass in active. So when we're at this / root, this class active is then going to be added to this A class. So we can actually do some styling. Now, if I go ahead and copy the exact same, we can do this as well on the 404. So when we hit this, we can actually see some active root styling. So what we're going to do is wrap this inside a nav and do class equals nav. And what we can do is close that off here. Now our A tags will simply just live inside this nav. Now what we want to do is essentially go ahead and style this. So we'll do .nav. And inside of here, we will do margin and we'll just add some margin on the bottom. We'll do some padding just to make these actually look half decent. Border bottom, do 1px solid DCE 5f2. Now inside our nav, we have our A tags. So by default, these will sit next to each other. So what we're going to do is just add a background color. So we'll do 3A4 250. Then we'll make the text color of white. We'll add some padding just for styling purposes. So we'll do 4px and 10px. We'll add some margin just to separate these two out. We'll give it a border radius of 2 pixels. Now, obviously, if we flick back to here, if we're at an active link, we want to add a class to the A tag of active. Now in Sass, we can do this with ampersand and then .active. And all we're going to do is change the color. So what we're going to do is B690 and then F1 just to give it a purple color. And we'll just change the background color to 363 C48. So let's save this out and go back to the browser. And when we visit these different links, we will see some styling. However, it might not look as effective as we think. You'll notice that the home button stays active when we hit the 404. Now this is because it's technically still matching an empty root at the base of the actual router. So what we can do is add something called router link options to essentially tell it to do an exact match. So let's go back. So what we'll do is router link active options, and then we'll pass in an object and we can say exact true. Now this is being passed through as a string. So to actually use it as a property binding, we simply wrap it in these square brackets to property bind to the directive. So here you can see that it's changed color from a string to an actual Boolean value of blue here in true. So we have exact true and Angular will evaluate it to an object expression. Now when we go back to the browser, we will see the difference because it will only add the active class to this if we are directly at /. So we'll start off with our home component and we can click 404 and you can see that the home does not have that active class. So when we toggle between the two, nothing actually happens. So this acts as a sensible default that we can add to our base component such as /, which is like our root directory. So this is a good configuration option that we can add to our component. So by using this directive and telling it to do an exact match, we essentially ignore all inherited roots because they kind of all point to / at some point. Even something such as passengers, when we come to implement this, is technically of the router link active of / because it still matches this path. So in this video, you have learned about router link active and how to add a class name. You can call this whatever you want, so you can call it foo if you like. Active seems to be pretty obvious. And you can use the property binding alongside router link active options, and you can specify this option of exact true, just to make sure that the class only gets added on the exact /.